Good Friday morning. Tim Radford with you here on WKRK 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25, and worldwide at country.am. It is time for the weekly show with Sheriff Derek Palmer here, and I did not move this camera on purpose, but again, you have Mickey Mouse ears on the camera.
You do that every Friday.
It was already here, and I don't know why, but for some reason I thought, well, we won't get the Mickey Mouse ears this year, but that's okay. It draws in a lot more Disney fans than we normally have. How's the sheriff this week?
Doing well. Had a pretty good week this week.
Has it been a busy week, a quiet week, or
we don't use the Q word in law enforcement.
Just don't use that word very often.
Just don't use it at all. Yeah, we might say it's been a good week or it's been a calm week, but we don't use the Q word.
Don't use the Q word.
As soon as you say the Q word, then something bad happens.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's first start off and talk. We were watching Hurricane Florence, and it was quite possible at one point that it was going to do some damage to us locally. So we were kind of on the edge of our seats, and we were spared locally any significant problems, even just some rain. It wasn't really that bad, but out on the coast. The eastern part of our state really is devastated at this point.
Is,
and let's talk about some hurricane relief efforts.
A lot of the, as we know from watching the news and stuff, a lot of the problems out there is not necessarily wind related, but it's more of the water related from the flooding issues that are going on out there. And we've been in contact with our sheriffs across the state and with FEMA and different life-saving agencies that are out there. We actually had a meeting Wednesday, I believe it was. It was Wednesday with the local sheriffs from the Western District had a meeting, along with some people from Raleigh. They came out to advise us on the situation and ways we could help and things of that nature. And one of the things that they had said in that meeting was that there's this great rush to go out there right now and help and do things in which they need help, and people are trying their best to help right now. But this could be an event that could be 2 months or longer before that we ever really get back to a place where they've got any kind of rebuilding, restructuring, normalcy of any kind out there.
And that's hard to imagine. It really is.
It is. Right now, I-40 and I-95 is still closed. It's still underwater. A lot of our local communities out there on the East Coast are still underwater. We are sending relief efforts out that way through law enforcement, trying to help with traffic control and rescue efforts and damage and those kind of things. And what people don't realize is a lot of these places, like Wilmington, for example, Carteret County, a lot of those places, Brunswick, a lot of those counties that are out in there, they have places in their county that are not underwater, and their sheriff's offices are still dealing with the water part of it and rescue and those folks, but they still have your normal day-to-day responses and law enforcement type issues to deal with. And so what we're trying to do in law enforcement is send resources and help out there to these counties to where those guys and ladies can go home and get some sleep and can get some rest out there. I know that some of the people that's went out reported that when they got out there to Wilmington and to those areas, and like I say, Carteret and Brunswick and a lot of those southern counties that are out there, Bladen and a couple of those, that a lot of those officers and administrative staff that have been there was up 24 plus hours still working because the calls were still coming in, assistance was needed, and they're still trying to help their community. So one of the things they warned us about yesterday is not send all of our resources right now, but some of us to back off and to wait, because a month from now they're still going to be needing help, still needing resources and those type of things. So we're trying to figure out efforts on staging the responses and trying to get out there and not trying to expend all of our resources right now, but a month down the road or 2 months down the road if they need it, that we're still available to help our brothers and sisters out there on the coast.
And that's one great thing I love about living here in the mountains of western North Carolina, is that we do have folks that are kind, caring, and want to help out those who are in need.
Yeah.
I see that every single day as someone wanting to do something good for another person, and just want to say thanks to all those folks that are like that.
And there is not just the law enforcement, fire and EMS is the same way, but I've noticed it in the law enforcement community, like when we've had things that's happened in the past, a couple years ago when we had the incident in Andrews, we thought we had an active shooter on campus where We evacuated the football field last Friday night, or 2 Friday nights ago, I believe it is now. All my days are running together. I don't remember.
Yes.
I don't remember how long ago it was now, but a couple of weeks ago when we had to evacuate the football field and those type of things. And one of the interesting things is almost immediately when things like that happen, it goes out over Facebook and the media starts picking up and start getting calls. One of the things I've noticed that sheriffs from across the state began calling and saying, what kind of resources do you need? What kind of help do you need? Anything we can do to help? So it's not just our community that's reaching out and helping other communities, but those communities also reach out and try to help us too. And so I think it's just good to try to help one another out in times of need. And like I say, we don't know how long they're going to have to deal with that out there on the coast. There were some weather reports last night of the depression, the low of Florence circling back around and coming back into the Atlantic, and could potentially regroup as another depression or a tropical storm, and could potentially be coming back to the coast again. So the same storm could be circling back around and coming back. I think the chance of that's very low. I think it was only like a 20% chance right now of that happening, but there is that percentage. So everybody's kind of got their eye on that and watching those kind of things. So we don't know. They could get back on their feet 2 months from now. It could be back to a place where they're starting to get under the water and evaluating road structure and damage, and then they could be hit with something else. So we're just trying to figure out how to help them. And one of the things from people I want to understand too, there are contacts out on the East Coast that you can contact through emergency management services for these counties, through FEMA, if you'd like to donate either money or goods for those areas. One thing that we need to remember is there's an extreme shortage of water out there. And you would think with everything being flooded and being underwater, that water would be the last thing they wanted. But when I say a shortage of water, we're talking about drinkable water, potable water, those kind of things, that people can just consume, wash clothes in, bathe in, those kind of things. And so there's a need for that out there. And also remember that things that they need are non-perishable goods, things, toiletry items, toothpaste, deodorant, toilet paper, soap, those kind of things, and even your other dry goods as far as food, as far as meal and flour, and and those kind of things. So just remember, if you send anything out in food wise or those type of things, try not to send perishable stuff. Right. Send canned foods and things that don't perish. So or easily perishable. So,
and there may be delays in delivery service like UPS and FedEx and the mail, depending on what kind of areas they're having to deliver to.
Right. And like I say, right now, I-40 and I-95 is still closed. It's still underwater. You can get to Wilmington. You can get to some of these places, but you have to use some of the secondary roads and the back roads to get there. So we just need to be mindful of that when you're shipping things or sending things out there to people, because I'm sure in South Carolina and in North Carolina, they're having to stockpile things in different places to get it to where it needs to go. And again, like in the Wilmington area and different places where they do have access from other roadways and are getting to, they don't want to send all of these resources to one place, because there are still counties and rivers and places that are still flooded and homes are still underwater. So some of those places are going to need some of these resources. So I know when things happen, the first week or two, everybody jumps in there with their money and with their goods and tries to help and all that. But just remember, just like Katrina and some of these other hurricanes that have hit, a lot of the need is weeks and months down the road where they need help. Right. So don't forget about those folks and remember that.
And a lot of time by weeks or months out, it's not fresh on people's mind to want to help.
Right.
So that is good to consider there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's. We talked about showing appreciation with the law enforcement community, helping out each other. Let's talk about another group of people that I think we all have tremendous appreciation for, and that those are our veterans. And
absolutely.
They've done so much to protect our freedoms, our rights, and a lot of times I don't think that a lot of parents raise their kids to educate those kids on what a veteran truly is. So this is a good opportunity. The third annual Veterans Educational and Appreciation Day. Folks, mark your calendars for October 6th. Now, that's a Saturday.
It is a Saturday.
10 a.m. And tell us about what all is going to be going on there.
Well, it's co-sponsored by the Sheriff's Office and the school system. And one of the things that we had talked about along with Roger Swanson, who kind of helps host this, he lets us use his property and things down there to help host this and get some education out. One of the things that I talked with Roger about in the past and Pat is the fact of that, just like you said, a lot of people they don't really, especially young kids, don't really get educated a whole lot on what it means to be a patriot, what it means to be an American, what it means to sacrifice and military service, and those that go overseas and give their lives and limbs and everything else for our freedom. And so what we want to do is we just want to try to help educate the kids and bring school groups in and show them some of the things in there and talk to them about some of the wars that's happened and veterans and why conflicts happen, why military conflicts are going on and those kind of things. So it's a combination between a sheriff's office sponsored event and the school system sponsored event. One of the things this year we're going to have kind of a draw to help for the kids to come in is we're having the Special Forces Association parachute team, and this I think is made up of all the branches of the armed forces that will come in and parachute in to start the games off. We were expecting them last year, and we had advertised that for last year. When they were flying down from Maryland last year, they had airplane troubles, engine troubles, and had to turn around and go back, and before they had to parachute for real.
Right.
So they had to turn around and go back and have some repairs done and couldn't make it back in time. So, but this year they have promised they're going to do everything that they can to get here and open up the ceremonies there. The jump I think is going to happen at 12 is when the jump is actually going to occur. So anybody that would like to come out and take part in that, the parachute team will be jumping there at 12. There's going to be displays, as you know, down there from all different eras, from World War II, World War I, Vietnam War, Iraq War, for all different eras of military conflicts. There's going to be Korean War. I know I'm probably forgetting some, but there's going to be displays there for all that. There's going to be several musical groups there. The 5th Ranger Battalion from Camp Merrill is going to be there. There's going to be free to the public to come. It don't cost you anything. Anybody that wants to come can come take part of that. There are going to be hot dogs, hamburgers, etc., and that's going to be sponsored by the Sheriff's Office and the school system and Band of Brothers Veterans Park.
Roger and Pat have done a tremendous job with that park. It's just beautiful over there.
Yeah, Roger has done great work, and Pat also. We talk about Roger a lot and the work that he's done, but we tend to forget that Pat does a lot of work, and she does a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, especially that goes on there. And she's full-time job of keeping Roger straight and keeping him in line on what he needs to do. So we don't need to forget about Pat because she does work very hard to help these events and get these things going. This is the third annual event that we've done down there, and we just want to let all the veterans know that we do appreciate you. We do appreciate your sacrifice. We do appreciate your service. And this is just a little bit of way that we can try to show our appreciation to the veterans and get education out to the young folk.
Is this going to be rain or shine?
As far as I know, it'll be rain or shine. The parachute team could be iffy if it was raining or bad weather type of thing. I'm not sure quite how that would play out, but I think the event is going to go on rain or shine for the event.
All right, folks, again, let's give you that date. That's going to be October 6th, a Saturday, starting at 10 a.m., and I'll be over there with our Facebook Live broadcast doing some highlights there. The location's at 430 Carriage Lane in Murphy. And for folks who may not know where Carriage Lane is, that's just you can throw a rock from the sheriff's office and almost hit it. So you can hit Pleasant Valley Road from either Bojangles side or the Sweet Tooth side, and you won't be able to miss it.
You'll go right by it.
Right by it there. Yeah. So Carriage Lane is just off Pleasant Valley Road, and will there be signs up there pointing the direction?
There will be signs, and we'll also have sheriff's deputies there directing traffic, and hopefully some help from the Highway Patrol, and maybe Murphy Police Department will be there also. But we'll be directing traffic, getting cars in and out, and things of that nature. So when you drive through there and you see blue lights and helicopters and military equipment sitting there, you know you're at the right place.
All right, another thing folks can mark their calendar for is another Saturday in October, Saturday, October 27th. The Cherokee County Sheriff's Office Women's Association presents the another third annual.
Third annual.
You guys are busy. Running with the Law. It's a 5K run and walk, and we'll just let the sheriff tell about that what's going on there.
Well, I really like this running with the law event because I generally drive and lead it.
That's right.
So I don't have to run; I get to drive.
That's the nicest part of it.
It is.
Yes.
Even when I was in high school and was even running track and football and all those kind of things, I never did enjoy running. I just never did enjoy it. I know some people love it, but I just never did. And it's
people can look at me and tell that I don't enjoy running.
Right. But it is a good event. It's running with the law, like you said. It's on October 27th, and so what happens is this is another event that we try to get our youth involved in and try to get people from the community. Like we're doing with the Veterans Park there. We're trying to get people educated about veterans and about our military. This is another event that we're doing to try to get our public involved with the sheriff's office and with law enforcement in general, and try to develop those relationships between the public and the sheriff's office and try to foster those relationships there. And so what happens is when you come down and you register for the event, you don't have to run the whole thing. You can walk it if you'd like to walk. You can walk part of it. If you don't want to walk all of it, you can be involved in that. But basically what it is we're going to have sheriff's cars. Murphy Police Department usually is involved in it. Like I say, the Highway Patrol is involved with this. And typically what happens is we have law enforcement there that outlines the course. It is an evening course through town. We outline the course with blue lights.
Is it the same course as last year?
I think so. I think it's probably going to be the same course. I hadn't talked to Stephanie about that, but I'm sure it's going to be very similar if it's not the same course. And so we'll mark the beginning and the ending with blue lights. We'll have escorts, blue light escorts throughout the course and those type of things. And it's just a way, like I say, to try to get relationships with our community and house time that the community can talk to law enforcement, can share experiences or concerns and things of that nature. And also they do a few things with the kids too. They have like fun runs and different things for the kids. And they have medals up to the top 3 finishers of each age group. And so even if you're not already registered, you can even register that day. So if it's on the 27th, you've not registered, but you want to take part in it, you wake up on the morning of the 27th and say, hey, I'd like to do that this evening, you can come on down and you can register even there that day for that. I will tell you that people who register early are getting their shirts, will have their shirts available. If you come and register that day, depending on the amount of people that register, we could run out of T-shirts or something of that nature. So I'm encouraging people to go ahead and register early and get your T-shirts and get your different things for that day. But we always look forward to that, and it's always a good time that we have with that. It's also sponsored not just by us. I mean, the sheriff's office is the one that does that, but we have a lot of people that participate in this, that help with it. And not only the sheriff's office participate in it, but Murphy Police Department, the Hiwassee Valley Pool and Wellness Center, the Andrews Police Department, and the park and several places are involved in it.
And I know from experience last year, this event is rain or shine.
It is.
It was very rainy last year.
I can roll my windows up when I'm escorting.
That's right. People came back, they were soaking wet.
Right.
But it still went on. Those people are dedicated. I've got to say that. Very dedicated.
And I
folks.
tell you, I was very surprised too, because when the first year that I did this, I was leading the race. I was just barely going, just driving slow on what I thought I would run it. And then I forgot that there's people that's actually marathon runners that run in this. And so they were like screaming and yelling at me to go on, get out of their way. They're going around me kind of thing. So I'm like, I better speed up a little bit. And some of these people who do like running and run for a living, they finished the course pretty quickly. So
I was amazed. I think some of them beat me back to the sheriff's office, and I was driving.
Right. So, if you like competition and you want to come out and just try to compete with some people, that's fine. Come on out and do that. If you just want to walk it and just support law enforcement, that's fine too. You come out and you be a part of it too. Kids are welcome. Seniors, it doesn't matter age.
All right, very good. Well, I know a lot of people question why you're here on the radio every week and why you're here on Facebook Live every week.
Right.
But this is an important job as far as connecting what's going on with the sheriff's office to the community. So, sometimes knowledge is power.
Right.
So, in your mind, why is this important to be able to talk to folks about these events?
Well, I think it's important not just to talk about the events and the thing that's going on, but like I say, there's a lot of people who who are in our community that maybe even could be homebound, could be in a hospital, could be in a lot of different places, and they're really wondering what's going on out there, what's happening in our community. So I think it's a good way of just sitting and being on the radio and just sharing experiences and building those, like I say, relationships with people, even though it may be via radio, it may not be face to face. There's a lot of people that I meet through walks of life that come up to me and say, "Hey, I listen to you every Friday on the radio, and thank you for telling this or sharing that. You know, I was wondering what was going on here, and I didn't know who to call or who to talk to. So I listen to you every week, and it's it's important to them that they get their information that way. And so I just try to be here as much as I can to share that information and build that relationship with people.
I think those relationship building skills are important because they do see you on our Facebook feed, they hear you on the radio, and they actually get to know who their sheriff is too. And I'm thinking all the other counties where their sheriff just goes in the office and rides in the car, that never actually has that interaction with the public. The majority of the public never get to know who they voted for, to be honest. And this is a great way for us to say, hey.
Well, I think, too, administrations in the past and around the state and different counties and different states, there are sheriff's offices out there and that people are afraid of their sheriff's office. They're afraid of the sheriff. They're afraid of the officers. And they look at them as kind of like somebody on TV or looking at the president or whatever. It's kind of a fictional kind of person that's out there somewhere.
Right.
And I think by sharing and being on the radio and doing the Facebook Live and all these kind of things, people can kind of get an idea of who you are and who you really are and what you're really about and those kind of things. And it's not scripted. We don't do anything here on the radio that's scripted. So as a matter of fact, like this morning, I sat down and I said, what are we going to talk about today? When we come in, we don't really know where it's going to go or what we're going to do.
And my response was, I've printed out some lyrics. We're going to start singing today. So yeah.
So I figured I better come up with something if he's going to sing. But I think by doing that, by doing the format the way we do it and doing the way we do it, I think that people kind of can see inside you and see who you kind of really are, kind of thing. And I think that's important. And it's not as much about what you say and the words that come out of your mouth as much as it is about people knowing you and knowing what you're about and having that confidence that they know their sheriff and they know kind of what you stand for and what you believe in and those kind of things. Because in today's world, we have so many politicians out there that say one thing on one turn and do something else on a different turn. And when you go into the voting booth and you mash the button, you don't really know who that person is.
Right.
You know the campaign, you know what you saw on television or the papers or those type of things, but you don't really know who that person is. And so I'm hoping by doing these things that there's people get to understand a little bit more about who I am and what I stand for and those kind of things.
I'm hoping that by just doing this show each week that, there may be some people, like you said, that have always been afraid of the sheriff's office, but have developed that, you're part of the family, that they can, if they're in need or they truly need to talk to someone in law enforcement, they're now able to reach out and say, okay, I trust our sheriff.
And I've had people come up to me in the public, like I say, just because of the radio shows and the Facebook Live and those type of things that do come up and speak to me in public and introduce themselves and do those things that normally they wouldn't have done. They wouldn't have interacted in that way. It's kind of funny because I have met people before where I wasn't wearing any sheriff's insignia or anything like that, but maybe in a grocery store or in a restaurant or wherever was just talking, and they turn around and say, I recognize that voice,
Yes.
And they'll say, are you the sheriff, or are you the one that's on the radio on Friday? And
they either recognize the voice or they laugh.
The laugh, and I think that's what does it more than the voice. But because of that, then we're able to enter into a conversation and that kind of thing, and be able to learn who people are. And I do think that's important when you go to vote, that you learn about the person and who the person is. And I know people see it different, especially politics is a strange thing. People have political beliefs for different reasons. But my personal opinion on political beliefs, I think it's more important to knowing the person you're voting for and what the person stands for than it is necessarily what their platform is and those kind of things. Because they typically, like I say, platforms can change depending on circumstances, but who the person is typically doesn't change that much.
Right. Well, we do appreciate all that you do in our community and all these events, and the fact that you do come here and just talk to folks, educate them, and let them know what is going on in the community as far as things in the criminal world, and the fact that your office does give out press releases to our
Right.
community too, to let folks know how to keep themselves safe.
Right.
And that's very important. We appreciate that.
Well, thank you, and thank you for everything you do and for the community. And like I say, WKRK is a very vital part of the information sharing process
Thank you.
with the sheriff's office. There's a lot of times that we're out and there may be an emergency happening or things happening that we need to get information out real quickly, and I'll just send Tim a text and say, hey, could you put this out, or this is going on, or stay away from this area or this road. And generally speaking, unless he's just indisposed of, generally speaking, within just a minute or two of sending that text out, Tim has stuff out on the radio and out on Facebook. And
Unless
I
I'm
just do want to
napping.
say thank you for that. Unless you're napping, yeah.
Thank you.
Or in Panama.
That's right.
But he has responded from Panama also.
That's true. All right. Anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just, like I say, it's been a good week this week. And, there's a lot of things we could talk about, but we'll save that for another day. And just everybody be safe out there.
Sounds great. Sheriff, thank you very much. You are tuned to WKRK 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25, and worldwide at country.am. And I'm reaching over here to hit the stop button on that, and I'm waiting on the tablet to do its thing. And I can hit save and tell you that stay tuned. We have a Little Brasstown Baptist Church program coming up with Pastor Odd Brown after your forecast. Stay tuned.
From the WKRK Forecast Center,